All right. I'd like to call to order the October 9th, 2023 session for the Bloom-Carroll School Board. And we get a roll call, please.
Mr. Abbott.
Present.
Mr. Bratton.
Present.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson.
Present.
Mr. Rod Johnson.
Present.
Mrs. Sherman.
Present. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Number 4, approval of agenda. There's no changes. Anyone have anything on the motion?
I'll second.
Motion made by James Sherman. Was that you, Joe? Jimmy, sorry. Seconded by Jimmy Johnson. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sherman.
Yes.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Abbott.
Yes.
Mr. Bratton.
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson.
Yes.
All right. 5, approval of the minutes from the following meeting, September 11th, 2023, regular meeting. Did anybody see anything that was out of sorts or questions, comments? Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Joe Abbott, seconded by Matt Bratton. Oh, sorry. What is wrong with me tonight? I'm so sorry. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbott.
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Bratton.
Yes.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman.
Yes. I'm gonna look at you guys now, just make sure I can read your notes. All right, number 6, public participation. We have a K-2 elementary update. I believe that's all we have tonight. Mrs. Pease.
A lot going on, but we started off with a really great year. I was able to get into each of the kindergarten, each of the grade level classrooms and do our classroom orientations, which deals with all the areas of our school during the learning day and linking that to the pod laws. So we looked at areas of the classroom, the hallway, the restroom, the cafeteria, and the playground during those orientation times. And then I ended up with a book reading them called One, which deals with bullying. And then we had our first large PBIS assembly, which then brings everybody together as a school community. And we go over all those expectations again. Students really like that because not only do we do all of our chants and our songs together, each of the teachers take these areas in the building. So they act out what it should look like in the classroom, what it should or should not look like in the restroom. So that's always a great time of being together. So that was very nice. And then the students complete with each section, they color in a bulldog. So by the end of the classroom orientation, their bulldogs are all colored in, and we've covered everything that then translates into our student yearbook. The second thing I wanted to say is to thank you and to Mr. Hahn for adding a reading teacher to the K-2. It's going to be so helpful this year. Mrs. Lombardo and Mrs. Ray will run as a team. So they will go to kindergarten and do those intervention groups, and then we'll move as a team to first grade and then to second grade, which will allow us to get our hands on a lot more students during intervention times. And both are being trained in the OG coordinator. So they will have a small population of students that are REMs, but probably the majority of the time will be spent on the students that come out of that math reading fluency that we'll be doing within a month, and those students that are flagged, they will work majority of those students. Speaking about grants, we did get our final data in. So we're looking at our current first graders. Last year when they were at kindergarten, we had 15 of them that were off track. Moving into first grade, now this does take in move-ins, but we have 41 off track in first grade. So those students will have reading improvement and monitoring plans developed. Our current second graders, last year when they were in first grade, we had 20 that were off track. This year we have 18 that were off track. So little slight decrease in that, so those 18 also have plans. And then our second graders, these are like the COVID kids that got shut down. So last year, we had 41 of them that were off track. And coming into third grade, we have 11 off track.
Great.
Yeah, that is, I just
That's
feel
right.
like they did cut that score a little bit. I think they're still trying to compensate for the years that those students, you know, out of school, but ours were in most of the time, so. And then currently, our current kindergarten students, we have identified 9 that are off track for this year.
You say 9?
9. So like that's a pretty good number.
Yeah.
That was actually, and those cut scores were not changed for kindergarten or first grade. So, I mean, that's a pretty good number too.
Sure.
So hopefully, you know, with our new curriculum that we've added, with that, you know, focus on the phonics and the foundation, we can see those numbers decrease. We'd like to get a 5 instead of a 4.5. Any questions?
I don't think so. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming
Feel
in.
better.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
One more day.
Appreciate it. All right. Thanks, Mrs. P. Number 7, treasurer's recommendations and reports.
Okay, item A is approve the September financial statements for a total expense of $8,214,155.94, including $5.15 million in consortium expenses. Before I get into the September financials, we are obviously going through our audit being conducted by the state right now. As I understand, they have sent all of you the fraud questionnaires. They used to only send it to the board president. They've changed it this year. I know they're not the easiest things to respond to. I did send you an email. I looked back, it was on September 1st, so it's been a while, but if you need me to resend that, I will. It references all the fraud policies that we have that can help provide answers to some of those questions, along with the fact that all of our functions, as Mr. Bratton can obviously speak to, are separated in terms of who cuts the checks and who does this. It's different than who reconciles the accounts. And that's a lot of what the responses are that they're looking for, as well as constant vendor reviews to make sure there's no related party transactions, making sure that none of us, the decision makers, have any vested interest in a company doing business with the school district. So again, if you need me to resend that, actually I'll just go ahead and resend it in the morning, but because I know it was a little over a month ago, referencing those policies and just a way to respond to that. Moving on to the September financials. September is the first month where the teachers enter their new contracts. So if you recall, it was a 4% raise through negotiations, as well as all the positions that we added. So there's always a little bit of nervousness as we get to September, making sure our payroll, our salaries and wages forecast matches up to what the actual amounts are, and we were very close to that. So off to a good start there. Overall, we are a little bit behind if you look at our revenues, mainly due to the income tax in July. Expenditures are over budget by about 1.8%. I'm hoping some of those are just some timing issues. We do have another income tax collection in October, and I think some of these timing issues will iron themselves out by the time we get into November. I'm hoping that we're back to where we need to be in terms of the actual versus the forecast. So with that being said, current carryover, you can see is a little over $9.8 million. That'll drop as we get into some of our lower revenue months here, but looking good so far, a quarter of the way through the fiscal year, believe it or not. But any questions on the September financials or the checks written during the month?
Straightforward.
I don't. You guys?
Okay.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Matt Bratton, seconded by Rod Johnson. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Item B is to approve the van driver salary schedule column effective October 10th, 2023, tomorrow. Just like the lunchroom monitor, this was a pay scale that we needed to update, quite frankly. When we first put in the van driver pay rate, it was a flat rate, thinking that these were going to be more temporary positions. And as we've gone through the years, as Sean can attest, these routes aren't going anywhere. We're going to have these vans. We're going to have these routes. So we needed to establish a more substantiated salary schedule. If you look at the column, we have aligned it with the educational aid monitor, kind of the same with those direct supervision on a daily basis of students. Obviously very important. a very difficult position, and we felt like aligning it with the educational aid monitor was prudent.
I will make that motion. Second.
Motion made by Joe Abbott, seconded by Jimmy Johnson. Can we roll call, please?
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Item C is approve the purpose statement budgets for the 23-24 school year. 1, food services through 29, the band fund. The auditor, you've already approved the budget, but actually the auditors require this to be approved on an annual basis, that for the board to approve the purpose for all of these activity funds. So they may only spend funds within the purposes listed on each of these individual statements.
Any questions about that list? I'll make this motion.
7, no, we've had it. I think even when you were principal, it was.
That is actually probably the around 2005 or 6. Really? But it is probably one of the most well attended. There's a tournament. There's some staff members get involved. It's pretty intense. Yeah. If you guys want to stop by.
That'd be great. Challenge you.
Yeah.
I'll make this motion.
Second.
Motion made by Jim Sherman, seconded by Matt Bratton. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson?
Yes.
And Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
And finally, we're thankful for the following donations to the Bloom-Carroll Local School District. Bloom-Carroll Athletic Boosters, 24 folding chairs for the press box. Mrs. Molly Foster, Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Wild, Mr. and Mrs. Adam Culp, all books for the Bloom-Carroll Elementary School Library. Family of Elina Dacey, packs of highlighters, and Kathy Kane, assorted ribbons for our curriculum.
Thanks to them. And I'll make this motion.
Second.
Motion made by Jim Sherman, seconded by Rod Johnson. Can you roll call, please?
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson?
All right. Number 8, the old business. Number 9, superintendent recommendations and reports.
Just wanted to, and we'll look at this in a lot more detail. Just wanted to draw your attention to the enrollment, let you know where we are. I think, again, a lot of it has to do with maybe interest rates. A lot of them maybe want to take a little bit longer to sell it, maybe just not interested in buying it right now. But the enrollment, we're down 6 overall from last May. We're 2,250, and right now we're 2,244. I think we have 1 or 2 enrolled today, and that will continue to fluctuate throughout the course of the year. But just didn't see the growth this year. I think the growth is still coming, but right now, kind of had a year where we're down a little bit, down 6 students at this time. I expect to be up over 2,250 by the end of the year. Just want to draw your attention to that. Looks like we're pretty good on our class sizes right now. We'll continue to monitor those throughout the course of the year and look at what additional students can be for next year. So, next thing, I know you guys started hearing about the report card in August, and then I kind of prepared you at the September 11th meeting that it's coming out on the 14th. We will get into this a lot more at our planning session on October 25th for a few minutes, but just wanted to really point out and recognize now that it's officially out, just really recognize the staff and our students and our families and the Board of Education for their work and working together. 4.5 stars on a 5-star rating. We were with some very good company when you look at the districts that earned 5 or 4.5 stars. There were not very many. I was really proud of some of the areas that we, the gap closing, score to 5, and progress, our achievement was very, very good. Obviously our early literacy, our K-3 literacy program received a very high rating, exceeding state expectations. So just congratulations to the staff and the students. With that good report card, our district earned from the Ohio Department of Education, we earned exempt status for the next 3 years. It's a nice it's a nice honor or recognition, but I don't think we really want to operate under an exempt status. I think having certain standards in place help us meet the bar in terms of teacher licensure, class sizes, new teacher mentoring programs. Those are things that we could exceed as an exempt district. I just think it's good to continue. It's hard to get back under those if that exempt status would change with another report card. So we're going to continue to operate as normal, but it gives us a little bit of flexibility with assigning teachers or hiring teachers that maybe aren't licensed within a grade. Maybe they have a 4 to 9 license and we need them to teach 3rd grade. That could be a possibility. Again, it presents a problem once you are no longer in exempt status. So nice honor, but we're going to continue to meet all the state requirements. And, also wanted to point out, you may start to hear some things, but you know we've been talking about it for 2 years. We've been preparing for it. The dyslexia screener this year in grades K to 3 will start this October. We will actually start with 1st grade, 2nd grade, and 3rd grade on October 24th, 25th, and 30th. I will cover this in more detail about the science of reading, the phonics programs we have instituted this coming school year. But you may start to hear some things around mid-October with the screening of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders. Kindergarten, the committee is still working. The committee out here at the elementary school with the principals, curriculum director, and also working with other districts to develop some consistency in when that kindergarten class is screened. There's some different requirements with that, so I'll have more of an update for you. Also wanted to let you know, obviously, you may have read some of the newspaper headlines about the Ohio Department of Education, which is now called the Department of Education Workforce. It's no longer ODE, it's DEW, Department of Education Workforce. And it's really for school districts right now. We're kind of in limbo. House Bill 33 removes some of the powers of the State Board of Education, removes some of the powers of the state superintendent. There's now supposed to be a director that is appointed by the governor, and there's deputy directors underneath that carry out more education policy. But there's some litigation going on between the State Board of Ed and the governor's office, and it's not really clear where this is going, but they're kind of challenging the constitutionality of reducing the powers of the State Board of Education and the state superintendent. So just stay tuned and we'll see where that goes. The high school FFA is sponsoring the Hometown Harvest Days in honor of Dave Brandt here at the elementary school in this back area, this grass area, in this field behind us, the land lab. That's going to be on October 22nd. There's going to be family activities, agricultural activities, pumpkin patch picking. So,
Say 27th.
22nd.
22nd. Is that all day? That's when all the
It's
kids
from
come?
1 to 4. 1 to 4.
Okay.
I did agree for a Sunday. Struggled with that. I know our policy, but I also know the house, we can do some Sunday things. Since it's a family activity, and a lot of our ag students are involved in band, they have competitions, and some of the kids play sports too. There was quite a few conflicts, so we're going to the Sunday for out here. So stop by if you get a chance, it'll be fun. And the state parliamentary procedure team is prepping for the national convention coming up in early November. The BC Classic, the 30th annual BC Classic, went very well. Thank you to all the volunteers and the music boosters for all the work they do to make that a success. And our band did receive a superior rating and qualified for the OMBA State Marching Band competition. Fall sports have gone very well so far. Really happy with how our kids are doing on the field and how they're representing us. We've had several fundraisers, Volley for the Cure, Kick for the Cure, both middle school and high school events. And, Fight for School. Then we had a press box dedication Friday night. which you guys have been a part of for the past year, but that was a very successful project. The Mills family attended, and they were very pleased with how everything went, and just a great honor for us to be able to honor Marlon Mills, his impact on our community. So I think that's it for my update. Questions?
Sounds good to me. Anybody?
I'll talk to you.
Okay.
I'll have to get a few drinks here. All right, 9B, students and programs. Approve an out-of-state trip for approximately 45 students in the BC Jazz Ensemble to New Orleans, Louisiana, April 12th through the 14th, to be chaperoned by Mr. Babbitt, the band director. And number 2 under programs, approve an out-of-state trip for high school cross-country team to participate in the 9th Midwest Regional in Terre Haute, Indiana, November 11th and 12th, be chaperoned by Coach Luke Sanderell and Beth West, pending receipt of all volunteer requirements.
Those are awesome opportunities. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Jen Sherman. Was that you, Matt?
Yes.
Seconded by Matt Bratton. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott? Mr. Jimmy Johnson? Mr. Rod Johnson?
All right, let's go on to personnel and employment. Approve the substitute list for October 2024 as submitted by Fairfield County ESC. Number 2, approve the following request for a pay scale advancement effective October 10th, 2023 for Jill Rochon and Mary Ford. Number 3, approve Jeanette Klein as a long-term sub for Laura Dobbins at the elementary school effective October 4th through approximately December 19th, 2023. Number 4, approve Holly Lovelace as a home instructor for the 23-24 school year for up to 180 hours at the tutor hourly rate. Number 5, approve Amy Cook with Western Governors University for preclinical experience placement with City Smith at the elementary school effective August 28th for up to 75 hours. Number 6, approve the following requests for FMLA leave of absence for up to 60 days for the following individuals listed on APB. Number 7, approve the following classified substitutes for the 23-24 school year pending the timely completion of all pre-employment requirements as presented in the table A through G. Number 8, approve the following request for an unpaid leave dock day for Pete Stevenson on October 27th and 30th. Number 9, amend the 23-24 athletic supplemental contract with Dave Anders, Group C JV girls soccer coach, from 50% to 100% of the stipend. Number 10, amend the 23-24 athletic supplemental contract of Brooke Hall from Group C JV girls soccer, 50% of the stipend, to Group C the varsity assistant girls soccer coach with 100% of the stipend. Number 11, approve the following athletic supplemental contracts for the 23-24 school year, pending timely receipt and completion of all pre-employment requirements as presented in table A through K. Number 12, approve the following athletic department volunteers for the 23-24 school year, pending timely completion of all requirements, A through I in the table, and get those volunteers. Number 13, approve the list of school volunteers in the packet for the 23-24 school year.
Sounds good to me. I'll make this a motion. Motion made by Jen Sherman, seconded by Jimmy Johnson. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Rod Johnson? Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Sir. Number 14, rescind the 23-24 athletic supplemental contract with Kelly Abbott, middle school cheerleading advisor for the winter season effective immediately.
I'll make this motion as well.
I'll second.
Motion made by Jen Sherman, seconded by Rod Johnson. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott? Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson?
All right, and contracts with purchase service agreement with Eagle Wings Academy for the 23-24 school year. Number 2, approve a service agreement with Fairfield Medical Center and First Medical Urgent and Family Care Center for an alcohol and substance abuse program for the Department of Transportation, basically for our school bus and van drivers, effective September 23rd for 1 year. It's just a renewal. We've been using Fairfield Medical Center for this many years.
Can I get a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Motion made by Matt Bratton, seconded by Rod Johnson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson? And Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
And under resignations, number one, accept the resignation of Daniel Chat, high school lunchroom monitor, effective September 19, 2023.
I'll make this motion.
Second.
Motion made by Jim Sherman, seconded by Matt Bratton. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson?
Yes.
And Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Number 10, any new business? Okay.
Nope.
All right, number 11, board reports and information. Superintendent Treasurer Committee updates. Facility management, Mr. Abbott. Mr. Jones.
It'll be the press conference.
Yeah.
Last Friday night.
Huge accomplishment, yeah. That's awesome. 2, personnel labor management, Mr. Bratton, Mr. Jones.
No updates.
3 other people. 3, OSBA rep, Mr. Jones.
At the OSBA meeting, I've got a pre-call on November 2nd for the delegates, so I'll set that and the meeting there, our next board meeting. I'll be attending as well. The only other thing I was going to bring up is what Mr. Hahn brought up in regards to the education workforce development, or department change plan. So other than that, we're all good.
Awesome. Policy, myself and Mr. Abbott, we have a meeting on this. All right. Yeah, you might have to bring it to the expensive
That budget bill is.
It's okay. Safety, health, and wellness,
Yeah.
Mr. Abbott, Mr. Johnson.
If you can get back, I don't know, if you can get back in time.
We just had a safety, health, and wellness meeting, on October 4th, reviewed and discussed, any additional concerns. Right now, the staff feels like we're in a really good spot. Our school nurses do too. We are adding 4 AEDs. Some of those are through the Matthew Mangine Foundation, which I talked about a little bit, that Mr. Burgess has kind of brought to us. But we'll be putting AEDs. There's one at the concession stand on the exterior of the concession stand, kind of under the pavilion. So it's there on the weekends for all kinds of events. We are putting one at baseball, softball fields. There's one at roller field as well, and stadium. Oh, there's one other spot.
It's up right here,
Tennis
yeah.
courts out here. Yeah, there will be one mounted on that building out there.
That's awesome.
Great. Not safety, health, and wellness. Oh, check the date. I think that is actually for May, which we would adjust. Yeah, she did schedule the one for the spring.
Okay, finance, Mr. Bratton, Mr. Johnson.
Nothing at this time. We're meeting.
We'll meet before the November board meeting.
Okay, so more than, good. All right, the upcoming PTO boosters, Board of Education meetings. October 10th, we have the music boosters at 6:30 in the High School Media Center. October 11th through the 13th, we have the Fairfield County Fair Days, which is no school. October 25th is the Board of Education planning session at 6 p.m. here, or over in the Middle School Media Center. November 7th is the elementary school PTO at 5:30 in the BC Elementary School Media Center. And on November 13th, we have our regular Board of Education meeting at 6 p.m. back over in the Middle School Media Center, as well as the athletic boosters at 7 p.m. in the middle school cafeteria that same night. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Matt Bratton, in motion, seconded by Joe Abbott. Need a roll call, please.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
I'm sorry, yes. Timeout. Let's go 6:30. 6:30. Thank y'all.